Originally part of the old fortress gatehouse before becoming just a medieval cottage, and then a 19th century servants' quarters, and then finally falling into total disrepair.
Good morning and welcome to Chateau Clerbaud. I'm in the front garden of the chateau, and as you can see there's a lovely little cottage that stands here. It's very, very old. In fact, parts of it most likely date back to the very start of the chateau's history. When we first came to the chateau, this cottage was in a very poor state of repair. It has a bread oven at the back of it, and there was actually a fully grown tree growing out of the wall of that bread oven. So urgent attention was needed here. Today's video blog, we're going to take you through all of the work that we did to preserve, conserve this building, and what we did to the surrounding area around the cottage here. And what I think you'll find very interesting is what we actually discovered when we took the concrete floor up inside this cottage. What we found underneath that concrete floor actually told us what this cottage was used for at some point in its history. Really interesting, and was a mystery for quite a while. So please join us now, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
We are looking up the front garden of the chateau. As the camera pans around to the left, we see the old pigeon-air, and all the trees in front of it are hiding where the cottage is. We decided to clear all the undergrowth away from these trees to give them light and space and open up the view to the cottage.
For a few days now we've been clearing this area behind me, which is in front of the water tower and a little cottage. It's become very, very overgrown, like everything else around here over the years. So we're trying to open it up, give the nice trees some space, and make it so that we can actually see the buildings through the trees. So Gabby's been clearing a lot of it away by hand, and today I'm going to cut down with a chainsaw a few of the bigger pieces that we can't cut by hand. So let's crack on.
All of these trees that we're cutting down are self-seeded. There's also a lot of laurel growing in here, which spreads like crazy.
After 2 days of really hard work, we've managed to clear about half of this area now, but we're really pleased with the results. You can now see through the trees to the chateau. 2 or 3 more days work and we should be able to get this area behind me cleared. Back to the chainsaw now. we've given them light and space to grow, I hope.
Finally, everything is cleared, and now we can cut up the old branches and store them for firewood. Once all of the small branches with the leaves on had dried out, we were able to burn them.
Now we've cleared this whole area, next step is to grind out all the old stumps where we cut the trees off. As you can see, this one is really hard work. It's got multiple roots and stumps. It was a laurel cherry tree, I think, which grows out in many directions, just keeps getting wider and wider. So I thought I'd start with this one first, as it's the hardest one. And once this one is sorted, the rest are all just single stumps, which are really easy, really quick to do. So just taking a little break at the moment. Wow, what a beast that was. 3 hours grinding that out. Massive it was, but we've got it low enough now, so now just got to rake this in, cover it up, and hopefully that will just slowly rot away over the years. Whoa, blimey. Feels good to have done it though. What a difference. That's the big one done. Now all the little ones, which shouldn't be too much more work really. A day to do all the little ones, and then put the compost and seed it.
One year later, after we'd seeded the area, the results are spectacular, an amazing transformation. Our next task towards preserving and repairing the old cottage was to remove the ugly render, reveal the stonework and repoint it all. So join me now and let's see just how we accomplished this.
So today, Gabby is cleaning the stonework, ready for repointing the little cottage. So she doesn't like to talk to the camera very much, so she can just turn her back and do some work.
This small section of the cottage wall has some of the nicest stonework that we've found anywhere on the chateau site. You can also see that the cut stone corners or coins are quite new. That's because this cottage once extended much further in both directions. If you look closely at the stones in between the coins, you can see the difference. Where you see the red bricks in the wall, this is where a chimney has been added at some point. Removing the render is such a long job, and at some point we have to do the whole chateau. To remove this render, we use an air chisel. It's much lighter and easier to use than a jackhammer. Almost certainly, this end wall of the cottage is not original. It would have been built when the size of the cottage was reduced.
So we continue work on the little cottage, trying to get all of this render off. Some of it just falls off if you so much as look at it, and some of it we need the jackhammer because it's really on thick. Getting there. Rob is coming in about a week. He's here for all of September, so I need to get all of this off so he can repoint it. So just got to crack on with it really.
I think that the stonework looks so much nicer than the render. The render was used to save money and make it easier to maintain the buildings. If you look closely at the stonework, you can always see where changes have been made. Here, you can see certainly that a window has been added.
Well, that came off pretty quick using this, but as you can see, this thing is really heavy. Good to get it off. Now we can use the air chisel just to get in between all the joints and make enough space for the new mortar to go in. Lucky it's not a warm day, huh? Oh. Good morning. So we're getting on pretty good with the cottage. We've got most of the lower levels done, so now it's time to get up higher to the roof level. For this we're going to need a little bit of scaffolding. Just as well, it's a lovely hot day again, so I'm not going to get rained on. Let's see how we get on this morning.
You can see that I have just uncovered an oak beam set into the stonework. This shows that once there was a taller and narrower door into this building.
So, essentially that's finished, cleared all the render off it, just got a little bit of cleaning out between the joints, then it's ready for Rob next week to start the repointing.
For repointing the cottage, we are using a mixture of lime and sand, 3 parts sand to 1 part lime. It is very important to always use the same sand. The colour of the sand will affect the colour of the pointing. Already, before the pointing is even drying, we can see that the cottage is going to look so much better. It's now difficult to imagine it with the render still on. The cottage is now returning to how it would once have looked when it was first built, centuries ago. The repointing is a long and slow job. I think Rob must have the patience of a saint. Let's take a walk over to the cottage, as finally the repointing is starting to dry and we can get an idea of the true colour. Rob has done a great job and the stonework now is looking absolutely fantastic. At last, the repointing is all finished and we are left with a beautiful stone cottage. The next job was very simple. My roofer friend John was here and he replaced a few of the tiles, repointed and repaired the chimneys. Having friends who are great tradesmen is a really big help on a job like this. John is a really good roofer and it saves us quite a bit of money. Let's go inside the cottage now and see the amazing thing that we discovered and find out how we solve the mystery of just what it was. There was an old concrete floor inside the cottage and we decided to start taking this up to see just what was underneath it. It turned out that there was a thin screed underneath the concrete and the concrete itself wasn't very thick either. So it all came up really quite easily, revealing an old cobblestone floor. The question I was asking myself was, just how old were these floors? I think the concrete floor was probably put down in the late 1800s, early 1900s, when a new family moved into the chateau. The cobblestone floor probably will relate to some time in the 1700s. You can see it's all coming up quite easily. Unfortunately for us, it's not stuck onto the cobbles, most likely because they put the concrete down when there was a lot of dust on the floor. We found this rusty old bracket under the concrete and also one old unidentifiable coin. Fortunately, whoever had laid the cobble floor had done a good job with it because very few of the cobbles had come loose. It really was quite a long and messy job with lots of concrete to clean up and dispose of, but it was such a pleasure to see the old cobbles coming through. Once the old concrete had been removed, it became clear that there were some interesting patterns in the floor that we had revealed. There is definitely a pattern of stones leading all the way to the bread oven. The red arrow shows the horizontal stones, and in between them, where the green arrows show you the vertical stones. This pattern continues in 2 lines all the way up to the bread oven. The line of stones on the right is much harder to see. However, if we look at it from another perspective, it's a little bit clearer. When we looked at the floor at the other end of the cottage, there were even more patterns, much more pronounced, and these seem to be mostly circular or curved in shape. This really had us scratching our heads trying to work out just what these patterns could be. From above, you can clearly see the curved shapes set into the stone. The two green arrows point out where I think there was probably a fire and also two big stones that you stood on in front of the fire. I had a couple of ideas of what could have been here. One, I thought there could have been kilns for making alcohol, or secondly, perhaps some sort of washing tubs. The mystery was solved when I visited the chateau of a friend of mine. Quite clearly, they were washing tubs. Searches online confirmed these to be a standard thing in old chateau. So there we have it, mystery solved. Now we can reflect on the beautiful transformation of this lovely old cottage. Amazing. Thank you everyone for watching that video. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and also give us a like. Both really help us. News coming up in April is a video all about the history of the chateau and the lords and the nobility that have lived there over the centuries. That's going to be really interesting. Also, we're going to do a question and answer video. We get lots of questions from you guys about us, about the chateau, about what we're doing, the future of it. So if you have a question you'd like an answer to, send it in on a message and we'll put it on the video with the answer. Look forward to seeing you again. Thanks again for watching. See you next time.